This is an incoming transmission from the Jersey Shore.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group. Today you'll hear some of the most important financial information and wealth-building techniques available anywhere.
Let's get this party started, huh?
Do you have a question for Scott and the team?
Am I on the air?
609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646.
We'll get that information to them by radio.
Now, Financial Insanity with Scott McLean.
Where do you plan to live in retirement? You're going to stay in your current home? You're going to downsize? What about inheritance? Who's going to inherit your house one day? These are some big questions, and we're going to talk about that today here on Financial Insanity. I'm your host, Alex Dingman, alongside, as always, Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group, right here in beautiful Ware Town. And right off the jump, Scott, it's a great day, my friend, because I'm here with you.
It's a beautiful day.
Heck
it's
yeah.
a beautiful day. Great to hear your lovely voice. Looking at you, you look like you took a shower. You look like you shaved.
I did,
You
just
look
for
very
you, buddy.
wonderful, Alex.
Just for you. That's how much you mean to me, Scott. And, where you live is super important.
That's
But,
for sure.
it can be one of those things that's overlooked a little bit. But talk about this, the importance of finding out these answers to these questions about where you're going to live, what happens to your house someday. It's important stuff.
It's a big decision. When you tell you why, it's a lot more complicated than just picking a warm place with a good golf course, and that's really not a bad start. But where you live, Alex, retirement affects taxes, cost of living, healthcare, and even your social life. So that's a really big deal. I see so many people coming in saying, Scott, we're looking at moving to a tax-free state. And I think, well, wait a minute, whoa. Why tax-free? Well, our pension. Well, first of all, your pension is not taxed up to, depending how much money you have, there's limits on it, but it's not taxed in the state of New Jersey up to $150,000 for a married couple. So this could be a wonderful place. But again, let's go to a different place. I want it warmer. So again, maybe I'll just stay put. Now, here it is, the winter. It hits, and suddenly what happens? You're out there Googling the cheapest beach houses in Florida. And so, of course, others are saying, you know what? I'm going to go to a no-income tax state, and I want to Google that. And you look around, and will your money last? Will it last the rest of your life? And that's a long time for people. Oh, Lord willing, we're going to be healthy the rest of our life. And that's where you don't really want to jump out of the frying pan into the oven, because it could get worse. So you really need to plan this out, Alex. And look at the unexpected HOA fees.
Right.
You're looking at the maybe it's a condominium and they don't like some of the rules. Maybe you can't plant a garden in your backyard. There are so many areas of relocating. And so I hope our listeners, I'm not stopping you from wanting to move and enjoy. I've got a little place there, an old place called Ocala, Florida, where we have a beautiful ranch down there. And but you know what? I don't know what I would do, Alex. I love what I do. I don't want to move, but I can go down there anytime I want. Again, it's a big decision, guys, out there. And this is why when people call us, Alex, we need to go through a process of, okay, we're going to relocate. What's the cost? What happens if your spouse dies? Do you lose some of your income? The Social Security is lost. Can you afford it? Can you not afford it? How are you paying for it? What's the taxation? Is there a taxation? Are you selling other properties to pay for this property? Are you pulling money out of your IRA accounts or 401k accounts to pay for the house or not? This is really a mistake. They're not calculating all the possibilities. And just for people to understand that, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, Alex. You might not know this. And we were born in New Jersey. Then we moved to Florida. My dad's company he worked for moved there, Rue, which sold out to Revlon and Zotos. And I remember going there. I was 6 years old. And I can say that Daddy we all loved it. It was nice and warm. Although I did look out the window every day in the wintertime because I didn't see any snow, and I was upset about that because you usually look out the windows up here and get off for school, but that didn't happen. But we moved, and growing up in Florida, seeing how it's changed, of course, when I was 6 years old, that was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The question is, do I want to move to that area? Maybe it's better to rent and just stay there, rent a couple different houses and that are filled like an Airbnb. to live in the town, to get the feel of the town versus jump right in. And that's what I see, especially you women out there that are married, whether you're single or married, I should say. You know, what I find is you and your lovely partner, husband, wife move down south, but you girls, you have this innate tool inside of your body that drags you back to the grandkids.
Yep.
So all of a sudden you end up buying a place down south, and what happens? Now you want to go back and forth. Then you find out, you know what? I miss him too much. Then you end up spending a lot of time up north. You got to calculate those costs, which you don't think is going to happen, but I can promise you, for men, it's a little bit easier to say, oh, I'll just stay here. I'll come visit when I want. But then, of course, that is not going to happen because your lovely spouse may be wanting to go back and forth, or maybe you're not going to see her or him that much because they want to be with the grandkids. This is a cost that you need to pay attention to.
Absolutely. As we are discussing how you decide where you're going to live in retirement. This is a huge decision. And Scott, for folks that are out there and they're wondering, you know, where does this fit in my retirement plan? I want to have this conversation. What should people do?
The first thing is calculate your cost by simply writing the special numbers down. This will really help you. Here's some numbers that you can calculate your cost with. 609-488-4646. What's that? That's my phone. That's our phone number. Give us a call. We can help you, walk you through it. And it's good to have another set of eyes because you have the eyes of I want to move. But by simply picking up the phone and maybe a quick phone call at 609-488-4646, I can tell you we can walk through this together. I'm not emotionally attached to it, but you are. But if I can help you rationalize or not rationalize or understand, or maybe it's a couple, people come in all the time saying, Scott, here's what we're thinking about. What's your ideas? I'm not going to dissuade you or not, but I want to look at all the worst case scenarios. I mean, Alex, this is all we do in financial planning here with the seniors. In the retirement planning, we want you to have your golden years, the warm years, the great years, not the stuffy years, or I call for many people getting older, they call it the rusty years. Let's enjoy the retirement in the go-go and slow-go years. And this is really, calculations of this is really important. It's not a quick snapshot, let's get it done. It's let's think about it. Let's count all the costs before we jump in, go.
Yeah, definitely. As this report here I read earlier says from Freddie Mac says 75% of baby boomers who are homeowners will leave their current home or the proceeds from the sale of that home to children, family members when they pass on. And this is a big part of that conversation, right? I mean, this is part of that retirement plan, the inheritance, what's going to happen with the house. That's got to be something that is put in place.
You're right. It's 75% of the baby boomers like myself, but, plan to leave their homes. I don't know. I don't plan on leaving, but we do have a couple of joints here. One in Jersey and Florida. But again, the proceeds of the sale, how are my kids going to handle it? Now you think about a beautiful, place you want to go to, and until you realize that if you don't plan it right now, you might not plan it later. Should you put your house into a trust? Should you protect your house from the crows and the clowns? The nursing home would be irrevocable. Maybe you say, look, I've got this beautiful place and I want to go to it. And I really, I'm not sure if I can't afford it. Maybe you can. Let's count the cost. Maybe take a quick to Las Vegas, or maybe a boat ride, or take a drive. How are you setting up the estate to protect the estate from unforeseen reasons? Your lights go dim, maybe Alzheimer's sets in, dementia sets in. I myself love my kids, but I know one thing: if I left in my house without a plan, they'll sell it instantly. They'll sell it immediately.
Sure.
They're going to grab the cash and go. They're not going to count the cost. And this is important to talk about the estate planning, Alex, which many people think about, but they don't get to because no one wants to talk about dying. No one wants to talk about these things. If you talk to your kids like I did with my dad, all he said was he pointed to something in his office. He said, see that drawer, son? That's everything you need to know. It's in order. It's calculated. It was his will, power of attorney, living will, healthcare directive, and a trust. It's all right there. son, I know you don't want to talk about it, but let me make it very clear. All the paperwork is there for you and your sister. That's all he did. I said, Dad, I don't want to talk about you dying. You're going to talk to me, son. Just a short time. The rest we won't bring up. I just want to let you know where everything is. I hope you guys out there listening, and guys and gals out there listening, you need to have that conversation, even though it's dainty, it's touchy, it's like walking on eggshells, but you need to have that conversation. Even if you have a couple kids maybe that you feel shouldn't get anything, you need to put that in writing so there's no probate issues later on. This is important. I can tell you, as you well said, 75% of the baby boomers plan to leave their home. Well, great. But could the home be taken away because of incidents of healthcare or other issues? Need to protect those assets.
Well, and you alluded to it there, Scott, but, that's part of your job when you're working with somebody is to help facilitate these tough conversations, whether it could be something about the budget, hey, we're going to have to do this and live by these numbers, not a fun conversation. Or like you said, the estate planning, what happens, after I pass. These are not, fun conversations, but you know what is fun, Scott, is having that in place. I'm sure your dad, I bet he felt great knowing that was in place. Did he want to think about dying? No, but it's better to have, a little bit of peace to say, I know this stuff is in place. And so that's one thing, a huge benefit of working with somebody like you, Scott, is being able to have these conversations, get this stuff in place, because all these things are inevitable. They're going to happen. And it's a hard thing, maybe to push yourself to do, but with an accountability partner like you, it makes it a little easier.
It is, Alex. You think about you figure out, again, how to actually pass your assets on by way of paperwork, will, maybe a trust. Maybe you want to put into you want a tax benefit. So there's a lot of different tools that the financial guy or gal that you're working with, they need to be asking these questions on a yearly basis, not once as you do the will. And then many of you listening to me right now probably never even looked at your will in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, but maybe things need to be tweaked. This is why we have in our office several lawyers that we work with directly, or we can work with your lawyer to guide them and to build this wonderful, I call it this wonderful Porsche that can sizzle out there, can run your estate, avoid probate, this wonderful tool, this wonderful Porsche or Mercedes, whatever you guys like. This tool is designed for tax efficiency. Maybe it's set up for, maybe you have a son or a daughter that's they're not able to handle all of your finances, and maybe you need a special trust. Maybe you have a thrift trust. Maybe you have a son or daughter need a special needs trust. This is where the financial planning separates our firm than many other firms as we look at the legal, the tax, and the finances. So I guess the bottom line is, as you're leaving a legacy or a gift, it's not a burden.
Yep.
It's not the crows and the clowns that show up at the funeral. By not taking, listen to me guys out there, by not taking care of your estate and your paperwork would be like Colonel Sanders babysitting your pet chicken. Not good.
Nope, not good unless you need lunch.
That's right.
All right, and that number for Scott and his team, if you have questions, 609-488-4646. That is 609-488-4646 for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group in Waretown, but serving people beyond there. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the income toolbox. What do you need to know about corporate bonds? And also, we have the mailbag segment coming up. This is Financial Insanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
And when you pay down debt, you don't pay down the highest interest rate. The biggest mistake is you pay the highest interest rate card when you should do the snowball effect of paying down debt.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Today, we are discussing the Income Toolbox, all about building a stronger portfolio, one tool at a time. I'm Alex Dingman alongside Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group. And I know you're going to have questions. Jot this number down, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Scott knows better than anybody that it takes a lot of different financial tools in your portfolio to keep your retirement on track. We're going to talk today about corporate bonds and the difference later on between corporate bonds and mutual fund bonds as well, because that's an important distinction. But Scott, let's, if you would, kind of display the power here of bonds and why we're talking about this here today.
I'm so excited about talking about bonds because I think about Jack, a classic growth investor. They want to grow your money. And he rode the waves of the stock market up and down for decades, enjoying the high and the enduring lows. But, you know, as Jack, or maybe you out there, you get closer to retirement, you start losing a little sleep. Or maybe you got that spouse of yours putting an elbow in your side thinking, every time the market takes a dip, honey, you change your personality, or perhaps maybe you lay awake at night hoping and wondering by osmosis, will the market go back up? And of course, you learned the market's up and down, and you could possibly seeing your gains turn into losses. So again, we'll use Jack. He wants to start selling his stocks because why? He needs income. Write this down: reverse dollar cost averaging. You see, when the market's down, you're faced to sell when you have this income you want, and you have to sell at lower prices, which means you're selling more shares to get the same income, reverse dollar cost averaging. You see, one day, particular volatility, if the market's really swinging up and down, not only is your personality changing, I've noticed so many times, Alex, I'm sure you've seen the seniors, their personality changes. The market's up, you're happy, market's down. I say go to the doctor and get some Prozac, but pretty much you're on your way to keeping your money safe. We need income. Tools that will pay a consistent income, whether the market's up and down. It's almost like a loan. So corporate bonds, as we talk about, it could be great. Now, imagine this: instead of stressing out about the markets up and down, you pretty much get yourself a nice tool. You don't have to worry about the markets. You're out to dinner. You're playing with the kids. You're watching the football, the grandkids playing, and like clockwork, the check shows up in the mailbox or in your checking account, just as promised. So this could be a great tool. But those in the stock market, in the growth area, you don't understand how it works because you really haven't been in that world. And when you change from the growth world to the income world, it's a different world to understand. And it's almost like going deep sea diving. Are you used to it? Can you handle it? Can you sleep well at night? This is income, predictable. You can bank on it. And of course, this is what I find so important, Alex, is people don't understand how to look at it in this time of possibly a great time for corporate bonds.
Right. Well, then that's what I was going to say. It seems like it could, take some of the stress out of investing, especially people as they're approaching that retirement, maybe want more of a quote unquote sure thing. But talk to me a little bit more. Okay, what exactly then are corporate bonds? How does this work?
Think of, Alex, your name is IBM. And you want to raise some money for some reason, so you're going to issue a bond. And you're promising to pay me, Scott McLean, or the investors online listening to us right now, in writing, a documented piece of paper called the bond with the stated date, when it's due, maybe you're going to have a stated interest rate. Let's just say it's 5%, and you must pay that no matter what, hell or high water. And you're banking it almost it's like a loan. And so you're going to pay me twice a year as a corporate bond. So we know two things. Number one, we know the interest rates and we know when it's coming due. Now, what coming due, Alex, means really clearly, coming due means I got to give all the money back. So, Alex, if you loan me $100,000, or I'm saying I give you $100,000, Alex, for your bond, and you're paying me 5%, and the bond is called in 5 years. That means you've got to pay me a semi-annual payment 2 times a year, and at the end or the call period, when it's over, you've got to give me all my money back. So I'm just eating the interest. I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend or interest payment, and I'm getting that egg. So I can either eat the eggs or I can reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens. And this is what's a lost strategy in the world of investing for fixed income. And don't misunderstand this for mutual funds. We'll talk about that later, mutual fund bonds. But understand, corporate bonds could be a wonderful place, Alex.
Well, and Scott, for folks out there that
Want to learn more?
609-488-4646. Again, 609-488-4646. I'd love to hear from you.
No, thank you so much. And, one saying my mom told me as a kid was, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And Scott, I know you're a straight shooter. Let's talk about the corporate bonds. We talked about maybe some of the safety there, but break down the good, the bad, maybe the ugly about corporate bonds, if you could.
Beautiness of the corporate bonds is, number one, we have to see who the company is. Let's take a look at the company and rip it apart, and let's see if they can pay the interest payment. Let's see if they have too much debt. Maybe we don't want to go in a corporate bond. Let's rip off the facade of how beautiful the company is, like General Motors. When General Motors was a big company and people bought their bond, well, remember, General Motors became bankrupt, but they got 18 cents on a dollar. They didn't get the full money back. So be careful when you're investing for corporate bonds. That's the ugly. The good, let's say it's a very strong company. My friend out there, Public Storage or IBM or some strong companies. Well, we know that they can pay. They've got a strong balance sheet. We know that they're issuing a bond because they want to expand their business or whatnot. We're going to look at these corporate bonds and the safety of the corporate bonds. That doesn't mean they're guaranteed. It means, well, if they have enough income, that they have enough profits, they have enough assets, they could be a wonderful tool. Unlike a company called Xerox that used to be around. Of course, I think about other companies out there that could be maybe weak. Let's make sure they're strong. The good, I'm getting a check. I can bank on the check. The wonderful, I'm going to get a corporate, and after the period of time when the period is over, called the call date, or when it's ended, I'm going to get a check, like the Tiger Bond. The Tiger Bond in many years ago, which was the Treasury, was paying, 13.25% guaranteed. And you know what? What a great bond that was, guaranteed by the government. So let's take a look. Again, that's the government bond, but the corporate bond, let's look at the company. The good, the steady check. The bad, if it's weak and you buy it and you get caught in hype. The ugly, they go bankrupt like General Motors did, and you get pennies on the dollar. So this is important when you're looking at fixed income, that the advisors who really don't specialize in this area, almost like a knee surgery specialty or brain surgery, you've got to really dive into the nitty gritty before you buy this corporate bond. But the good news, oh my goodness, we don't want default. That's the ugly. But the good news, the steady check. You can bank on it showing up in your mailbox twice a year.
Wow. And Scott, I love your energy for helping folks and for educating people, and the knowledge that you have here about different income tools as we're discussing corporate bonds today. But I can just feel it coming out of you that you're it's something that you just feel like it's really important, because it's something that you think that people are not educated enough about, right?
They're not. And unfortunately, I'm the old person in the house talking to you young people out there. What do I mean by old? You see, in 1982 to 2000, the market was nothing. Well, there's a couple dark skies, but it was blue skies. anything you touched, anything you felt, anything you smelled, anything you invested in, it made money. So who the heck wanted to buy a smelly, yucky bond? Bonds are boring, Scott. I'm getting a steady payment. Yet the market's making a 5, 7, 10, 15% rate of returns.
Right.
And you are bored with this boring bond. And now a 2000 kicks in. The price to earnings ratio is 44-1. It was too high. It was a major indice. As we spoke about in the market, it's time to get out. Let's get out. Well, people didn't want to go to bonds. They were looking for the blue skies that turned into dark skies, and the market dropped from 2000 to 2002. And the market dropped. That's right. It dropped around 48%. Some mutual funds and stocks dropped even 55%. But if you want that steady income, this, when you get older, could be a nice steady income, a great tool. I didn't say sell everything you have out there. Listen, make it very clear. I'm saying you need to understand, because people were not being educated on duration. They were not interested in, they were not understanding guarantees or what the companies were guaranteeing by way of paper. And they were not understanding how can I get paid. And therefore, that was put aside, hoping and praying that the market would continue to go up. And when it dropped from 2000 to 2002, from 2007 to 2009, people were nervous. They couldn't sleep, Alex. Bonds could be a great tool out of all the tools in the fixed income area. And this is one of the wonderful type of tools if you'd like to sleep well at night and get that check in the pocketbook.
Want to learn more?
609-488-4646. Please write it down. 609-488-4646. I'd love to take your questions. I've got answers. And if I don't have answers, I promise you I'll get them.
That is Scott McLean, McLean Advisory Group. Remember the website as well, financialinsanityradio.com. As we're talking today about some different tools that you need to have in your income toolbox. We're discussing corporate bonds, but on the other side, an important distinction needs to be made. We're going to be talking about corporate bonds versus bond mutual funds. This is Financial Insanity, out-of-the-box thinking for your financial sanity.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money, but do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At McLean Advisory Group, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the McLean Advisory Group team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 609-488-4646. That's 609-488-4646. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Tax Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies are not associated entities.
I call it the chicken and the egg. The chicken is the investment. The egg is the dividend. And so when the chicken pops out the eggs, if you don't need the money, let's reinvest the eggs and buy more chickens.
Man, that's just an excellent analogy, Scott.
We made it back. This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, presented by McLean Advisory Group.
Discussing the income toolbox today, building a stronger portfolio, one tool at a time. I'm Alex Dingman alongside Scott McLean of McLean Advisory Group, right here in Waretown, serving Ocean County and beyond, helping you shore up your retirement future. That number, if you have questions, 609-488-4646 for Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. As yes, we are talking about some different tools to help you generate some retirement income, discussing corporate bonds today. Very important topic, and we need to make an important distinction here, Scott. If you could talk about the critical difference as we are discussing corporate bonds, but also what a lot of people know about, maybe are invested in our bond mutual funds. What's the difference here? What do people need to know?
Let's get to basics. First of all, if you're out there and most people don't know about bonds and how they work, or maybe you have a little ideas, a bond is like a loan from a corporation. A bond is like a loan from a corporation with a set period of time called duration. So let's say it's IBM. They're going to offer a 5% bond, and it's for a 15-year period. So we know how long they have to pay that payment. Now, that's called a corporate bond. Again, we have all sorts of corporate bonds, from the risky to, of course, real conservative ones. That's called the quality of the bond. Now, let's jump over into the world of mutual funds. This is where it gets tricky. And a mutual fund bond is made up of 200 to 300 different companies in one portfolio. So you could have one bond mutual fund with 200 to 300 companies in that portfolio. Now, if you were to say, Scott, I want to have safety and security, well, my question to you out there, listen carefully. Let's say I've got a mutual fund bond portfolio that's paying a 5% dividend. And let's say I have 10 different corporate bonds, 10 different ones, that's averaging 5%. On one hand, you're going to say, I'd love to have the diversification of 200 companies versus 10 companies. Well, wait, did you understand who's offering better guarantees? Let's break it down. In a corporate bond, we know how the corporation's going to pay you and how much. So each individual bond, by way of, they write it out on the bond, they have a promise. But in a mutual fund, the mutual fund manager has, again, 200 companies, well diversified, right? But wait a minute. If the market is dropping and people get scared, you're going to be caught in a mutual fund portfolio as the market is dropping. But if you're holding individual bonds, you can choose to, I'm not dropping anything. I like that steady 5%. I'd like to have that guarantee of the company paying me a monthly, or a twice a year, that payment. And I know I'm going to get that payment for a certain period of time. So I've got certainty and guarantees by the corporation. Now, I'm not guaranteeing the corporation is going to go out. I'm saying, let's take a look. So as an investor, portfolio manager of these portfolio of 200, I'm not going to talk to you, my clients out there. I'm just going to buy and sell what I need to. So when people are redeeming money, I may be selling some very good bonds just to make up the yield. But you out there, individual, you can keep these bonds. Now, let's make it, you know what? That's really deep, Alex.
Yeah.
Do you want some certainty? Individual bonds have more stability than mutual fund bonds. How about make that real simple? Why? Because we don't know when the market's dropping and you want to sell, you know what? Or you don't want to sell, but you want to enjoy that 5%. They may have to liquidate, and this loss could be a permanent loss in a mutual fund portfolio. It's just a stock of a bunch of bonds. And this is where people don't have that predictability, that accountability. They don't know what's inside of it. But when we have individual bonds, we can look at them, we can analyze them, whether we should get out or not get out. And this is a big difference when we talk about the difference between mutual funds, bonds, portfolio, and individual bond, corporate bonds.
Want to learn more?
609-488-4646. If you're stuck in the weeds, give me a call off the air, 609-488-4646. That's our studios. If we can help you, let's help you, because bonds are tremendously exciting now as interest rates are starting to go down.
No, I love it, Scott. And really, it's all about that level of risk. You know, how much risk you want to take? How much do you want to be into the stock market? And I think that conversation, too, it is a different one as you get closer to retirement, right? So maybe discuss that a little bit. As, you know, you're getting closer to retirement, maybe, depending on who you are, maybe that's the security that you're looking for.
I really don't want people to get thinking that all bonds are safe.
Right.
So I'm very nervous what I just said a little while ago. because they're based on, number one, how long you got to keep them, called duration. But on top of that, you could buy what's called high yield bonds. Now, people get excited about high yield bonds because they think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. Woohoo! Wait a minute. High yield bonds are the riskiest because they're companies who have the portfolios don't look too good. Maybe they need some right guard because they're starting to smell. Maybe they need to raise money, high yield bonds. And so lately, they've been absolutely just catapulting, doing wonderful because it's hard to borrow money. But when interest rates start to drop, do you want some guarantees? Do you want to sleep well at night? Let's find a tool in the toolbox called corporate bonds, whether they're risky ones or not that risky ones. Let's understand your risk level because everybody wants cake and ice cream, but nobody wants the calories, the extra fat. So be careful on how much risk you want because there's several types of bonds out there people really don't understand, and they could get stuck in the muck. That's why they give us a call, and when we talk to our clients about where they want to invest their money, we call it the dreams. I want the money to come in. I want to be able to take trips. I want to go on trips and not worry about the market. And we talk about the dollars, where to invest the money, and the tools that'll give you those dreams to come true. And then if we pass money on to the children, called the dynasty, how does it pass on? Do the kids usually cash everything in at once or not? And this is the definition of really a 3D planning in your portfolios. And bonds could be a good mix as rates go down. As we just saw previously, the rates were skyrocketing. Bonds took a real, they became a anvil around your neck. They were dropping like a time bomb. Now it's inverse. It could be a wonderful tool out there. So again, understanding your tools is critical, Alex. If you don't understand, call us.
Well, and there is no one size fits all, and that's one thing that your team gets really excited about is somebody coming in and it's a blank canvas and you're just looking at it and saying, hey, fill me with all the knowledge so I know who you are, what you're trying to do, and then you're going to use your knowledge and your team to try to craft a plan that's going to set that person up for the most success they can have.
We have tremendous variety of people, not only for the colors of the people, the good looking or the ugly ones like me, but we have people who are married and they start their retirement journey at age 60, some 55, some 65, some older. Maybe they have younger spouses. Maybe the one spouse is 75 and the other spouse is 60. Wow, is that a diverse journey? How do we make the money last longer? What tools should we use so the money lasts a good long time for the younger spouse? And that doesn't mean that the younger spouse is going to live out the older spouse. In addition to the ride, in the early years, it's called the go-go. You want to go, see things, enjoy life. Like my best friend, his wife is about 12 years younger than he is. And they said, Scott, my wife, I'm going to have her retire right now. He is 65 right now, and his lovely wife is younger, and they want to start doing things. Well, you know what? Their planning is going to be different than if they were both 65. Or maybe they have a certain amount of income they need to last a good long time. Or maybe they're older. Let's say another couple out there that could be both 75. Do we want to pass money on? Where do we put it in? How much do we need to pull out? How do we pass the money on so the money lasts a good long time for them? Should we put the money into an irrevocable trust to hide the money from the nursing homes? Should we put the money in a different type of account to have some more growth? I don't know. And Alex, you made a good point. We have such a diverse amount of people out there. This is exciting. What makes me excited about my field, I mean, if I can last another 20 years in this field, I just love this because everybody's so different. It's not the same old, but everybody has the go-go years, going into the slow-go years, going into the no-go years. And so things change, Alex, and I think about this. What are you out there? If you're looking at retirement, how are you looking at retirement? What are you doing? How are you setting your retirement up? Are you talking about this on an annual basis with your advisor or on a semi-annual basis? And then are you looking at tax ramifications? And then how do I preserve the assets for the next generation? Hey, if you want, give me a call at our studios. You may have questions right now. 609-488-4646. Let me say it again real slowly because I don't want you to miss out. to understand how mutual fund bonds, corporate bonds, and other type of investments out there could really be beneficial at this time. 609-488-4646. And by the way, that's our website, 609-488-4646.com.
More to come here on Financial Insanity.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Frankly, you could have your grandkids tweet out to your friends or go on the Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is and say, I got great information from Scott.
And you left out TikTok there as you're rambling off the different social media being used by the kids today. You got to remember that TikTok.
Oh, that's right. Tickety-tock.
This is Financial Insanity with Scott McLean, powered by McLean Advisory Group.
It is time now for maybe our favorite part of the show as we reach into our mailbag and go over some of the common listener questions. So let's go ahead and do that. Jump right into it because we want to get through as many as possible. Scott, you ready?
I'm excited. Let's go.
Let's do it, baby. All right. So the first question, this comes from our friends Laura and William in Bayville, New Jersey. So this question here, and this is a good one. What kind of accounts need beneficiary designations? How often should I be checking and updating these?
Please write this down. 609-488-4646. The way I'm about to answer this question goes into my book on Chapter 11. Pull up Chapter 11. So I believe every account should have beneficiary designations. It can avoid probate. Now, that being a large discussion, maybe your wife or your husband's lights are going down and you want to avoid maybe how do I put money into a trust? How do I protect the money depending on what stage of life they're in? So we definitely want to have beneficiaries, but it may be focusing to a trust. It may be going to each other, husband or wife or husband, or girlfriend, boyfriend, and then it may go to the children. This is a nice way to avoid probate. But this question, Alex, I cannot answer it that quickly because you definitely need to do it. But how to do it? I don't know if you have a special needs kid, child, or grandson or granddaughter. Maybe you need a special needs trust. Maybe you need to protect your assets and have a irrevocable trust. Alex, and I forget Alex, Laura, William, I really want you to give our studios a call, 609-488-4646. I'd like to dig deeper into that. And most people make mistakes right here. Beneficiary designations. So Laura, William, 609-488-4646. Alex, I'm sorry. It's just a deep, deep question, which I'm so glad someone asked.
No, definitely. I figured Chapter 11 of your book was on bankruptcy, but it's not. Okay. Interesting.
We want to avoid that.
Yeah.
So the money can go to the family, not the nursing homes. So yes.
No, absolutely. All right. Second question. This is Rana and Camille, and they are in Beach Haven West. And another common question we get, how do I figure how much I have to take from my retirement accounts? I know there are so-called required minimum distributions, but I don't know how to find out exactly how much mine is.
I'm going to keep it real simple for those who are brand new listeners. So I'd like to keep things as simple as possible. So number one, those people now, right now, 2024, 25, 26, well, your RMD, required minimum distribution, is at age 73. Now, some of those years ago, just a few years ago, it was 70 and a half. and it changed up to, of course, 72 and then 73. So, and then now it's going up to 75 for those people younger. I miss it by 2 years. So how much do you pull out? Use 4%. By the way, it's a little bit less than 4%. So you can do your calculation. So let's say you have $200,000 in an IRA and you're 73. Well, 2 times 4 is $8,000. And of course, you want to hold back federal tax, not state tax, although some of you might need state tax. But the question is, again, 4 times the amount you have. That 4 times is the percentage you pull out, and it's a little bit less. Every year it gets more and more. So this is where you really design how do you invest money so you're just eating the dividends and interest, I call the eggs, not cutting off the chicken's arm or leg, eating the principal. We want to have pulling out money really, really organized. And this is why people give us a call all the time. And we speak to people when it comes to this period of time so we don't cannibalize our assets and run out of money. Alex?
Yep. Thank you, Scott. And that number for Scott and his team, McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646. 609-488-4646, as we are reaching into our financial insanity mailbag here today. Halfway through, got a couple more questions, and this one comes from our pal Daniel in West Creek. Thank you, Daniel. And he says, do I really need to be that worried about inflation? I feel like it won't be that big a deal after I stop spending as much money when I get a lot older. What do you think about that?
Daniel, I'm thinking about when, as I get older, I just slow down, sip tea on the porch.
Oh, yeah.
And inflation won't ever matter, right? Well, wrong. Of course, inflation doesn't care what you're sipping tea or running marathons. The question is it going to run? Is your portfolio going to keep up with inflation? Are you going to burn too much cash? So we talk about the eggs and the chicken and the eggs. We talk about how do you pull money out as an income portfolio and how do we keep up with inflation? I think inflation is like a sneaky friend that convinces you to maybe let's go out to dinner, and all of a sudden your sneaky friend ends up having you pay the bill. So you don't want to have it to come sneaking up on you. So this is why people give us a call. Scott, how are you heading off inflation? It is a good way to put in your plan. How can we lock in a great income? 609-488-4646. Because taking your eye off the ball, that's where things really go AWOL. And hey, that rhymes too. But you don't want to go through these problems. Again, pay attention to inflation. How's it going to affect? Where do we put our money? Should we be a more aggressive, not aggressive? How do we really get through it? And hopefully inflation gets tamed as it is slowly getting tamed now, but we're not sure. Hopefully it gets a lot better.
Well, and Scott, and thank you for that question, Daniel. Regardless of inflation, we know that a lot of people feel that way, that they're going to be spending less money in retirement, and that's just not something that we see. Maybe it could be true for some, but I know that we do see some folks that they think that's going to happen, then it ends up being the reverse and not spending more in retirement. Right. So I just think it's just wise to caution people not to assume that when you're creating your plan, and hopefully you're doing it with Scott, and so he'll help address this, but that you're really looking at things the best way possible for what realistically could happen.
Yeah, that's really important, Alex.
All right, so another question here. Is there a couple right here in Waretown? Maybe they hand-delivered this one. I don't know, but this is...
I think they might have been.
This is...
who are they?
Yeah, right. This is Sebastian and Donna.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, I think I know who they are.
And they say that they are both about 7 or 8 years away from retirement.
Young couple.
But it is on their radar, and they want some advice. They are not procrastinating, Scott. They want to know, what should they be thinking about?
You hit the sweet spot. You hit the spot. I'm so glad you did that. I love meeting people 1 year to 2 years before, and then 6 months when they start choosing the pension plan and all the options you have. So this is really important. Number one, you really want to, and I have it on our website, a bunch of nice white papers on planning your retirement. And then I give you a budget sheet. Number one, your budget. Figure out what kind of lifestyle you want on a monthly basis, whether it's sipping pina coladas on the beach, or sipping tap water in your backyard. That's fine. You might like it there. But again, your retirement budget, let's take a look at it, because remember, this is set it and forget it. Maybe you're going to work part-time. That's going to add into your budget, maximizing your contributions. Are you going to continue putting money in your 401k IRA? They just increased that for 2025 for 401ks. Now you can actually put a lot more money in. So I would look at that benefit. Next thing is paying down debt, focusing on getting rid of that high interest debt now. I didn't say you're 2 or 3 or 4% mortgage if you still have one. I wouldn't pay that down right now. I'd focus on those high interest rates card, and then evaluate your investment strategies, your investment areas. Don't be swinging for the fences. Everything looks wonderful. The market seems to be, we have some, some really good tailwinds. I think the market could do well. We don't know, but looking at what's happening, I think we could have some good tailwinds. So should you reevaluate your portfolio? If you do those do-it-yourselfers, boy, I would encourage you to really look at the PE ratios, look at the values of the companies, and look at the beta rating. And if you're not a financial guru, give us a call, 609-488-4646. We'll look at that. In addition to your healthcare and your healthcare problems, we just want to, not problems, but your healthcare costs, expenses, and then, of course, a stream of income. How do we pull money out? Where do we pull it out? Do we have weddings coming up, babies popping out, grandbabies popping out, I should say? So this is an area, Alex. This is a great question. It's a deep question, and this goes into asking lots of questions we talk about in our book, how the financial planning process leads your money to a mousetrap, because the financial guy, the tax guy, and the lawyer are not really talking to each other, leaving you to a mousetrap. Don't let that happen. And if you need help, 609-488-4646. We've been doing this, Alex, how many years? I mean, daggum, a long time. And you know what? We've just doing nothing but education. We've never tried to buy or beg people to come in. We're going to try to sell you. When you meet with our firm, I can tell you one thing: hide your checkbook, hide your wallet, bring your questions in. We're here to help you. If it's a good fit, great. If it's not a good fit, we shake hands. We're friends, because we'll make you feel right at home. I promise you that.
No, that is great. And we also super appreciate all of the questions that were sent in. Thank you, Sebastian and Donna, for the latest one, but also Daniel, Rana and Camille, Laura and William as well. Thank you so much for sending those in. And again, if you have questions, that number 609-488-4646. I wanted to ask one more here, Scott, before we are done today. No, easy one. But for folks out there,
I feel something's coming on.
No. It's an easy one. I want to just ask, when is it the right time to get a second opinion? You might have folks out there who maybe they're working with somebody, or maybe they have a plan. Maybe they're DIY. Maybe they're doing it themselves. When would be the right time for somebody to get some new eyes on it, some fresh eyes, second opinion? What do you think about that?
I think whether it's if you're married, there's some really clear signs that maybe you need a little help. And it's if you can put your pride in your back pocket, come in and visit with our firm. Visit with a couple other firms as well, because we may not be a good fit. But they better be looking at all three areas we spoke about today: the legal, the finances, and the taxes. If they're not paying attention to the entire retirement show. They're only looking at it phase one. What do we do with money? No, there's 3 phases, and we definitely know once you're running out of money. 609-488-4646. Write your questions down, because that is the best time. Procrastination, again, is a destroyer of anything in sports, anything in finances, anything in life. By putting things off, it could make the problem much, much worse. But you can take care of that by giving our studios a call.
No, thank you so much for that. And for the final time, that number for Scott and his team at McLean Advisory Group, 609-488-4646, 609-488-4646. Just add a .com for the website. Thank you to everyone for listening. Scott, great show, my friend. Always fun.
Thank you.
Really gives me great energy for the rest of my weekend to be here with you. So thank you, Scott.
I love it. Great having you guys again and listening to us. And have a great week.
Yep. Until next time, this is Financial Insanity.
This radio program may contain information which has gone regulatory or other significant changes since its original recording. The information and views expressed on today's show is educational in nature and is not intended to be a recommendation for any specific investment, product, strategy, plan, tax, or legal advice. Information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, a SEC-registered investment advisory firm. McLean Advisory Group and Sound Income Strategies, LLC, are not associated entities.
This radio show is a paid placement.
Who likes uncertainty? Wall Street certainly does not. With near record inflation and partisan politics, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. What will America's future look like? What will your future look like? Will your taxes go up? Will your savings go down? For more than 40 years here in the Jersey Shore area, Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group have seen uncertainty come and go. No matter what the future holds, Scott can help you create a plan designed to preserve your finances in uncertain times. And it's not a matter of if those uncertain times will show up, but when. Call 609-488-4646 now to meet with Scott McLean and the team at McLean Advisory Group. If uncertainty is causing you to feel insecure, Scott McLean might be able to help. Call 609-488-4646 and schedule your visit today. Again, that's 609-488-4646.
Investment advisory services are offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.